I'm going to make a comment now. Okay, so how do we start a question like this? Well, maybe it's easier if I start with an even simpler question. If I said to you, what is the answer to this question? 4 to the power of x equals 16. Could you give me the answer to that? Put your answer to that in the chat. What's the answer to 4 to the x equals 16? Yeah. And the reason we know it's 2 is that what we do with exponential equations is we often try and make it that both sides have the same base. So 16 can be written as 4 squared. And if the base is the same, then we know that the two powers must be the same and x is 2. Now, those are the sorts of questions that I think that you did in the previous lesson. What makes this lesson a little bit tougher is that now the 4x over here is all there. That's no problem. But what is the relationship to all this stuff? And so we have to use our knowledge of equations to help us. Now, the thing about an equation is it's an equivalence. It's like a scale. So as long as we do the same thing to both sides, it's still the same equation. It's still in balance. Now, I want you to put in the chat what number is causing the most issues right now. There's basically 3 parts to this question. There's the 8, there's the 4 to the x, and there's the quarter. What's causing the most issues for you? Yeah. So the thing that's causing the issues is the 8. I'd really like the 4 to the x to be by itself. And so I need a way of getting rid of that 8. What do you think I need to do to get rid of the 8, but still keep the equation the same? Want to see in the chat. You divide, yes. So you could divide by 8, or another way of dividing by 8 is you could times by 1 over 8, which means the same thing, right? So those are my 2 choices. But whenever I deal with an equation, I have to deal with both sides. If I just suddenly do something to one side and I don't do it to the other, then I've unbalanced it. So I'm going to times this side by 1 over 8 and this side by 1 over 8.
Sir?
Yeah, if there's a question, just put your hand up and then I'll go come to you. I thought I heard someone now.
Sorry. I just want to ask if the question is 8 times 4 to the power of x is equal to a quarter.
That's exactly what it is. Yeah. That's the question.
Got it.
What I'm going to suggest now is that when you multiply an 8 by 8, you get left with just 4 to the x. Essentially, these two, the 8 and the 8, cancel out. But now you have to deal with 1 over 4 times 1 over 8. And so now what you need to do is decide what is a quarter times an 8. And I want to suggest it's 1 over 32. Take a moment and see if you agree with me. Okay, so now I'm almost there. I've got 4 to the x is 1 over 32. What is the next thing I need to do? In the easy question, both sides had a 4 in them. How am I going to get a 4 on the right-hand side? Who wants to give me a tip? What do I need to do with this over here? I'd really like for the right-hand side to be 4 to the power of something, but I'm a little bit stuck. Okay. Yeah, no problem. I will slow down. So I want to say, could 32 be written as a power of 4? Probably not. Let's have a look. 4 times, no. Okay, so then what we need to do is we need to think of a number to divide by 4. Actually, what I've realized is there's no power of 4 that will go into 32. So if I go 4 times 4, I get 16. And then if I multiply by 4, it's too big. So I have to be a bit sneaky. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to write 32 as a power of 2. So let's see. 2 times 2 times 2 is 8, 16, 32. So I can rewrite this as that. Now, that doesn't help me yet, but I have a sneaky plan. Can 4 be written as a power of 2? So can I rewrite 4 in terms of the 2? Yes, okay. If I did that, guys, if we could just put ourselves onto mute unless we raise our hand, and then I'll come to you. So I think I get that situation. Now I'm almost there. If I bring, there's a law that you would have learned about that says, if you have 2 powers next to each other, you can multiply and you get 2 to the 2x. Now I'm just stuck. What do I do about this 2 to the power of 5 at the bottom? I really want to bring it up here. Can anybody help me? Like, what have you done a law? Yeah, Kazimla? What do you do to rewrite it? Tell me a bit more. Have you guys heard of the rule that says if you put a power, yes, if you bring it above the line, you get that? Chaucy, was that you?
Yes, sir. You change. You change.
Yeah. Okay. So you change it to a negative, and then you're allowed to write, and then finally, guys, if I could ask you, there's definitely lots of audio coming from other rooms. If I could ask you to put yourself on mute, just so that we have clear audio for everyone, and then only unmute when you're asking questions. Go ahead, Chaucy, I see your hand.
So isn't the answer 2x equal to -5?
Okay, exactly. So now the last step is finally, after all that hard work, you can say, because the bases are the same, 2x is -5. And then if you divide both sides by 2, x is -5/2 or -2.5. So that was quite a tough one to start with. We're now going to slow down quite a lot, because that was what amongst the most difficult things that we're going to do, and we just wanted to show you it from the beginning, and now we're going to break it down. If you look back to the beginning, the real sneaky bit that I had to do is I had to make sure that both sides had the same base, and so I had to follow all the rules that I could to get a 2 on both sides. That was really what it was all about. Now, I suspect Lemlediko, do you want to ask your question?
Yes, sir. I was gonna ask if you could please stay a bit on this question, because I just came in and there's a network issue here.
Okay. What I'm going to say is that question was show you all the bits and pieces. I will come back to this question around the middle of the lesson and see if the ideas that have been presented will make a bit more sense, because I think that question had 3 or 4 little pieces, and I want to look at each piece by itself now.
Yes, sir. Thank you, sir.
Pleasure. If you look at A, can you see how A is far less complex? There's far less. All that you've got is you've got your 7s here, but you at least have bases that are 7. Now the question is, how do you bring these all together? So I want you to use what you learned in the previous lesson to try and solve this. The only tip I'm going to give you, I've got a shortcut. There's a 1 here. So whenever there's nothing written, there's automatically a 1. And then I want you to think about if you had, for example, something like this, the answer would be 7 to the 6. So how can you use that idea to help you answer this question? So Canva, you do drop the bases, but before you drop the bases, you need to make sure you do one other thing. How do
Sorry,
I
sir.
know-
Sir, can you please repeat the question?
Yeah, so the question is the A. So if you look at the screen, hopefully it's nice and big, and it says you need to solve for X. Sorry. So the goal is to solve for X, and we need to find, basically what that means is we need to find the X value that makes this rather long-looking statement true. But in order to do that, I'm going to suggest you want to end up with 7 something equals 7 to the minus 4x and go from there. So step 1 is, how do I get this part sorted out?
Isn't you add those?
Yeah.
Didn't you write all those exponents like 3x plus 1 plus 4x?
Yeah. So Lucky makes a really good point in the chat, everyone. If you look at the, and if you want to say something, like, you feel free to jump in. But really important, you don't drop the bases until you've done certain steps. So this is the step that I would say you have to do first. You recognize the bases are all the same, which means you can add the powers, and then you get to this step. And then you ask yourself, can I collect these things? And you can. You get 7x plus 1. And now you can start thinking about dropping bases and equating things. And then once you've got your answer, if you can get it, put it in the chat. So Mr. Lucky said, only drop the bases if there's one base on the left of the equal sign and one base on the right of the equal sign. So if I look at my drawing now, I have one base on the left-hand side and I have one right. And so I feel like I'm comfortable enough to then go and do that. So because my bases are the same, and this is the key step, with these are called exponential equations. And when you solve exponential equations, step 1 is to move it so you have one base on each side and it's the same base. When the bases are the same, you can drop them and you get to that stage. But now it's still an equation you have to solve. And so I'm going to add 4x to both sides and take away 1 from both sides. So that would be the final answer. Now, just to show you what happened, because I've left some steps out here. I wanted to get rid of the 4x here. And so what I did was I just took away 4x from both sides. But then I also wanted to get rid of, sorry, I lie. I'm making stuff up now. Sorry, guys. Let me go back to where I was. So at this point, I wanted to move the minus 4x across. And so I just added 4x to both sides. And then I took away 1 from both sides in order to get the 1 across. And so that's my final answer. Now, I want to get a feel for the group. How was that question for you? Thumbs up if it was kind of okay. Thumbs down if it was like, sir, hit the brakes, please. So let's just see that in the votes, how we're feeling. Yeah, it's much easier than the first one because it's just the first one had a whole bunch of little pieces in it. Okay. All right. So I think the next one will have a similar effect. So I'm going to keep going and do another one. In fact, let me see if I want to choose one that's a little bit. Okay, I'm going to make one up for you. This is going to be a genuine made up one. So if I said to you 3x plus 1 times 3 to the 2 times, let's say 3 to the 2x minus 5 equals 243. Oh, wait, you want, yes, okay. I've made this question up for you because I want to see. Now, the question is, I want you to find the value of x that makes the statement true. And what I've done is, you'll notice I've made the left-hand side a little bit like the previous question, but I've made the right-hand side a bit more tricky. And so I want you to try and solve that for me before I move on to the next one. So Kathy, you add on the left-hand side. In order to make life easier, you're going to add the exponents, but I want to see if you can figure out what I do on the right-hand side. So let's have a go at this one before I move on to the next one. So the goal is to solve for x. That's the key phrase. Find me the value of x that makes the statement true. Prime base, I think. Yes, you're on the right. Right-hand side is 3 to the power of 5. Sebo, you are onto it. 243 is a power of 3. So let's have a look. I think, first of all, I should simplify the left-hand side. But you're quite right. This is a power of 3. And so knowing what power of 3 it is very helpful. So I see some answers coming through. Let me see if I can do this. 3 times 3 is 9. Then you get 27, 81, which is 4, and it's 5. So this is 3 to the power of 5. Now this stuff on this side is just going to be 3x plus 1 plus 2 plus 2x minus 5. And so now I have to do a bit of a cleanup. So there's an x and a 2x. So that gives me 3x. And then 1 plus 2 is 3, minus 5 is minus 2. Okay, do you think we can drop the bases now? So if we go back to what Mr. Lucky said, 1 base on the left, 1 base on the right, they're the same. Yes, you can. And so now we need to solve it. And so what do? I'm going to add 2 to both sides. If I add 2, I get 7. And then my final answer, if I divide both sides by 3, is 7 over 3 is my answer. Okay, again, let's have another thumb vote. So thumbs up if that made sense to you. Thumbs down if you were like, whoa, this is still mysterious stuff to me. I want to get a feel, are we getting more confident each question we do, or are we still getting stuck on the basics? And I know, Lucky, are you seeing anything in the chat that I should be aware of, or anything that I've missed?
No. So far, everything is going well. And I think they most get it. Only what is confusing you? What is confusing you? Sorry. You may unmute and maybe let's have a chat a little bit.
Yeah. Go ahead. We've got time. So go ahead and give us a sense of where we're losing you.
It's the second to last step.
Okay. Let's have a look. The 3x minus 2 is 5?
Yes.
Okay. What I did there was I did leave out a step. All I do is when I get to this step, I really want to get the x by itself. And so I added 2 to both sides. And when I minus 2 and plus 2 gives nothing, and 5 plus 2 gives me my 7. And so that's how I got 3x is 7. And then I really want to get rid of the 3, so divide this side by 3, but also divide that side by 3. And 3x over 3 is just 1x, and that's how I got there. Okay.
Okay, thank you.
Let's do one more question before our break. So in this question, you're going to have to use some of the skills that you've learned in earlier questions. And in earlier questions, when you couldn't have something, the main focus is you need to find a way of getting the bases the same on both sides, but not breaking any rules. And so I want to at least see, can you at least simplify? I want everyone to work on just this left-hand side. Make this left-hand side simpler for me and put it in the chat. I want to see what you get for the left-hand side. And then once you've simplified the left-hand side, the goal is to solve for x, find the x that makes this whole statement true, right? So this side and this side. But before we can do that, we need to work with this rather messy looking left-hand side. So over to you for that. I'm going to get some water, a refill, and I'll be back in a second.
So remember that hint, I wrote a hint for you right there. Always write all terms as a product of their prime bases.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
So I got the answer, sir.
You're on fire. Pop it,
No,
pop
sir,
it
I
in the
got-
chat. Okay, well, before we, let me just quickly, I want to read out the Lucky's thing. This prime numbers thing is actually really important. Prime numbers are the smallest sort of, in terms of breaking things down, they're the smallest unit that we have in the section. So in this question, you may be thinking, oh, can't I use 4 as my base? But the moment you see 2 is a prime number, and so you want to try and use that. Sorry, the gentleman who was talking now, do you want to come back on? I just want to hear what you had to say. How did you
So I
go
said-
about? Yeah.
This is the prime base of 16x, so it's 2 to the power of 4, sir.
Okay, so what you did was you left the 2 as it was, but then with the 16, you wrote that as 2 to the 4, like that. What did you do with the 4?
So the prime base of 4, so it's 2 to the power of 2, sir.
Perfect. And then after that, what was your next step?
Done.
Nice, that's good.
So I plus the 4, so to the x, sir.
Okay,
4
so
times
you,
x, sir.
yeah,
4
yeah,
times, sir.
yeah. So you got
4.
that.
Yes, sir.
And then what did you do with the quarter?
So I left the quarter the same, sir.
Okay, so you left the quarter the same. So let's do one more step. If you wanted to now put all these numbers together, what would the final thing be? So you've got 2 to the power of minus 2x, 4x2. I think we just
Plus.
write it like that. So I want everyone to get to that point. Now, I could actually make this simpler. I think instead of writing minus 2x plus 4x, minus 2x plus 4x are like terms. And so I can replace that with 2x, and then the 2 was already there. So, and we get that. So the final answer, and I'm seeing it in the chat. I think I lost some of you for a second there. The left-hand side gets to 2x plus 2. I want to know, what do I do with the quarter? That's what I want to know in the chat. What is the quarter going to be written as? Oh, Ndumiso is already written, I think. So what we're going to do is we're going to write this as 1 over 2 to the power of 2. And then if we've got a power below the line and we bring it above, all we need to do is change that to a negative. And so we get to that step. And now we're at the stage where we can drop the bases. And the reason we can drop the bases is if we know left-hand side is right-hand side and the bases are the same, the powers must be the same. So we get 2x plus 2 is minus 2. And then what is the final answer that we get?
I think we have a hand from Lee Shu. Is it
Okay,
Lee
go
Shu?
ahead. Let's go ahead and hear the question.
Sir, I'm a bit confused from when we had negative 2x times 2 to the power of 4x times 2 squared. Then we went to this one where we start writing in blue. I don't understand how we got there.
Let's have a look at that. Good question. So you're talking about this step over here.
Yes, sir.
Oh, this magically went down to this over here.
Oh, okay. I see.
You're not alone in this. What I did was I said, keep knocking.
Okay,
All I'm saying is the bases are the same, and then I'm adding the powers, minus 2x plus 4x plus 2. And these two are like terms. And so minus 2x plus 4x gives me the 2x. And then this 2 over here gives me this 2 here. Does that help a little bit?
Yes, sir, I understand. Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you for the question. So what
Thank
is
you,
the
sir.
final answer? Let's have a look.
X equals -2, sir.
Okay, minus 2. Let me see what I get. So 2x plus 2 is my, so I think if I take away 2 from both sides, then I get 2x is minus 4. And then if I divide both sides by 2, my final answer is x is minus 2. Yeah. And just to show you what that means, if I go back to the very beginning, that means that if I put a minus 2 into this whole long statement, so if I put a minus 2 up here, this whole long expression will be equal to a quarter. I think someone's not on mute. If you could just pop yourself on mute. Okay, so I think, guys, what we're going to do is we're going to have a break now, and I want everybody to stand up. So I want you to stand up, and I want you to try something different. And what are we going to do? We're going to do a brain break. So I don't know if you've done this before. It's a good exercise if you want to distract yourself from something and just let your brain be free. So you stand up and you take your right hand and you pop it on the nose. Take your left hand, pop it on the ear, on the left hand on the right ear. And you're going to try and switch from this side to that side. See if you can do that. It's quite hard. So I'll start again. So left, what do I have? Oh, even I've lost my train of thought. Right hand on the nose, left hand on the right ear. Can you do this? And I'm told that's a midline crossing, and it's quite hard for your brain to do it. And if you're really good, as you get used to it, you can switch. I can see some people are catching on. Zandisile, you're looking like a champion there. Moyali, doing nicely. Zinani was doing quite well as well a moment ago. Let me put myself back in the picture. And then the other thing I want to do for our break is I want to play a little game called Maths 24. And so I'm going to give you these 4 numbers, and I want to ask you, can you get to the number 24? But you're only allowed to use each number once, and you're only allowed to use the operations plus, minus, times, and divide. So as an example, this would be wrong. 1 plus 6 plus 6 plus 2 gets me to 15, which is, you know, almost 24, but not quite. I saw a hand flash up.
Oh, sorry,
Sir,
sir.
can I say the
Never mind.
answer?
Oh, please do. Who's that speaking?
It's Tube, sir.
It's who?
Tube.
Tube. Tube, go ahead.
The answer is 6 plus 6, which equals to 12, times 2 times 1, which is 24.
6 plus 6 is 12. So you use the two sixes, and then you went 6. Oh, wait, sorry. Then you went 12 times 2 times 1, which is 24. You are the champion. But let's
Sir.
see. Yeah,
I have a different way of doing the first one.
let's see. Okay, go for it.
I did 1 plus 2 times 6 plus 6.
Okay, let's see it. 1 plus 2, and then?
Times 6
So you get 3. Oh, yes. Yeah.
plus 6.
Yeah, because it's 18 plus 6. Yes,
Yes, sir.
very nice. Very, very nice. Well done.
That is very beautiful. I didn't think about that.
I like out the box thinking. Okay, next one. Can you do this one? Can you get to 24? Or a P where said 2 times 2 times 6. A P where you would be correct, except you didn't use the last one. Or I suppose you could multiply by 1. Let's see who is gonna crack this nut open.
Sir, I
first.
think I got the answer.
Okay, pop it in the chat, because if you put it in the chat, then I can see who did it first. Otherwise, it's 3 times 4 times 2. The problem is, Siamo, that you've left out one of the numbers. 4 times 4 plus 3 plus 2 gives you 21, but no 24 yet. This is a bit tougher because it's a 2-dot question.
So can I say the answer, sir?
I want you to pop it in the chat if you can, and then just because, and then I can keep track of who was first. No one's got it yet.
Okay, guys, and also please do check if your answers really do add up to 24, hey?
4 times 4 times 3 divided by 3 is 16, I think. But you're on the right track, Chantal.
Mario.
4 times 3 times 4 divided by 2. So that's 12. Claudia, I think you may have it. Oh, wait. Maria got there first.
Yeah.
Okay, Claudia and Maria, I
Sir, I
think
think
I've got something right here, because they went 4 times 4, which is 16, times 3, which is 48. And then they went, take all that and just divide it by 2. So 48 divided by 2 is 24. So you have smashed it. Well done, man. You guys are pretty good. Yeah. Is there another way?
So yes, there is another way. I said 4 plus 4 is equal to 8, and I said 8 times 3 is equal to 24.
You must use all 4 numbers.
Aha, you're right, you got there, but you haven't used the 2. That is the key.
Oh, yeah.
Sir,
Yep, go ahead.
so I have a different way, sir.
Go for it. Go for it.
I went 3 plus 2 in brackets times by 4 plus 4.
Nice. Yeah. So 3 plus 2 is 5. 5 times 4 is 20. 20 plus 4 is 24. Perfect. All good. Guys, I can see that you've been bitten by the Maths 24 bug. So I definitely recommend it. It's great for just getting your brain going for the day. And yeah, thank you for participating so nicely. So let's pop back to the topic of the day, which was exponential equations. And really, the thing that I'm thinking of now is Mr. Lucky put a thing in the chat earlier on about prime bases. You'll notice that a lot of these questions, the number in the base is often a prime number. And so I want us to try and think about that. Whenever we're breaking something down, if we can get our base to be a prime number, it's probably going to make life easier. And I really want to just emphasize that for you. So over to you guys. Question C. You have to solve for x. So the value of x that makes this true. But think about, how can I make my bases 2s? I don't want to say anything more than that. I want you guys to try and do it by yourself.
Right, I think we have a hand from Fundogazi.
Go ahead, Fundogazi.
Fundo Akani.
Yes, sir.
Yeah, your hand is up.
I'm still a bit confused here.
On which part of the question was I losing you on?
Sir.
Yeah. Which part
What?
of the question was I losing you on? Okay, I've kind of lost the audio there for a second. If you can put, even if you put your question in the chat, or if you can get audio again, then I'm happy to help. For Dokani, if you have a question, you can go ahead. While the others are working, if you'd like to ask your question, you can. So I think two parts that I'm most concerned about are here and here. That's where the attention has to go. How do I deal with that? I think we've seen this trick before. Go ahead, someone's trying. Hello?
Hello, sir.
Yes, go ahead.
I want to ask if you could please explain the previous question, because I just joined the meeting. I've got a bit of a network issue.
Okay, I can't go through the whole question, but I'll go through the main ideas in the question. The good news about Watobe is that the lesson is always recorded. And so the recording of the earlier bits of the lesson will be up fairly shortly on the YouTube channel. Okay, so really in B, all I did was I wanted to make my bases all 2. And so the 16 had to get changed to a 2 to the power of 4. And the quarter had to get changed to 1 over 2 to the 2. And then eventually 2 to the minus 2. So that's the main ideas that we're using in this next question, because we're trying to break down the quarter again. And we're also trying to break down the 32. So I hope that helps a little bit. So if you think of 2 times 2 times 2. Yeah.
Sir.
Yeah, go ahead.
I think that the quarter, we can multiply it by 4 over 1.
Could
so
multiply by 4 over 1, but the problem is this x. This
yes,
x is attached to the quarter. That's the problem. Because
we're going to
yeah.
I was thinking that if we multiply it by 4 over 1, then all raised to the power x.
Yeah. So if the quarter was sitting here by itself with no x to attach to it, then I would agree with you. I would be totally there. But the problem is, the moment you have this x involved, it gets trickier to multiply each side. So what I'm going to suggest instead is that you change the quarter to 2 to the power of 2. And you change the 32 to 2 to the power of 5. Now notice how I'm getting, sorry about all my bases are, I'm trying to make them 2. Okay, so that's my goal. I just have to get around this 2 to the power of 2 being in the denominator. But we saw earlier in the lesson, if your power is positive below the line, it can be written as negative above the line. And so I think my question can break down to that stage. Now, I want to see, can we get to the answer from that? Awami, I see your hand.
So what happened to the x there by the 1/4?
Hey, Peter, I think we do have an error there.
Oh, yes. My apologies.
Then there won't be a solution with that x. Let's rather remove the x.
Aha. So let us have a look at that more closely. Basically, what I should have done is that x should still be at the party, guys. I basically chucked it out, which unfortunately then breaks the whole thing. So once we've done that, how do I get rid of the bracket now? Who can tell me, how do I get rid of this bracket? What do I do between these two?
Multiply them, sir.
Perfect. So what I should have done is have this.
Yes,
And
sir.
now I'm accurate. Now, what's interesting about this question is something weird is happening. Let's have a look. 2 to the minus 2.
That's what I was saying. We probably should
Okay.
remove the x.
Okay, so the x shouldn't have actually been there in the first place. All right, so guys, there's actually, I mean, it's fine. It's not a problem. The reason we could see there's a problem with this question is what's going to happen? What's going to happen when I try to bring 2 bits together?
It will be 0x.
Yeah, 0x or 0. And now the problem in mathematics is anything to the power of 0 is 1. And so then this question is saying 1 is 32, which is not true. So I think there might have been a typo in this question, but it's fine because we can just stop at that stage. The skills we were practicing up to that point were valid. And in fact, we even caught a little mistake that I made that helped us understand, okay, watch out for this little, thing that can happen. Okay, I want to squeeze in one more question for today before we go off and do our quiz. In fact, oh no, that's an easy one. Okay, you can do that chop chop and then we'll do one more after that. So, exponential equation, I want you to solve for x.
Sir,
Yes.
can you please go a little bit back up just for a second?
How far back up to the question?
The last question.
Okay. Maybe just take a screenshot quickly of what you want to look at. If you can. Give you 5 more seconds and then I'm going to go back.
Thank you, sir.
Cool. Okay, let's try and do this one. I'm going to turn my lights on. Good job.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. When the bases are the same, don't you bring down the exponents?
Okay. Step 1, and this is what we said earlier on in the lesson, is that you have to first knit all these guys together on the left-hand side. The one on the right-hand side only has 1 base and 1 power, but you need to think, how do I knit these together? Now, the good news is the bases are the same. So if bases are the same, I simply have to add the powers. There's one unknown thing is, what is the power of this 2 by itself?
It's to the power 1, sir.
Perfect, yes. So really what I get is I'm going to get 2 to the power of something, and you're going to have a whole bunch of stuff here for me. And then once you've got the answer, pop it in the chat. So I think we get x plus 1 plus 1
Plus
plus
x.
x.
It will give us x.
Get
2x plus 2
Yeah.
is equals to minus 2.
So now bring it home for me.
I think we're gonna get rid of the 2, sir.
Yeah, you are on the money.
So I think you'll say 2x plus 2 equals to negative 2x.
Yep. Perfect. So you've dropped the bases because there's one base on the left-hand side, one on the right-hand side. And so now we just need to get to the final answer. Yes. Lucky is giving everyone a shout out. He's impressed by what he's seen today. The performance has been good.
Sir, I think
Yes.
now I think we're going to say
Yeah. What are we going to do? How do we deal with this negative 2x?
So
yeah.
Yeah.
You ready?
Please raise your hands.
Take over the money.
Yourselves.
Yeah, guys. So let's just try, because the problem is that if we don't follow that structure, it can get a little bit chaotic. So let's go with raised hands. So Lucky, if you could just allocate the next person. I see a couple of hands.
Yeah, Subi, you can go.
I was going to say you say 4x and then you take the 2 to the other side, but at, when you take it to the other side, it's equal to negative 2 instead.
Perfect.
Well done,
And what's the
Subi.
last step after that?
You say 4x divided by 4 is equal to negative 2 divided by 4, which is equal to the simplest form, a negative half.
Well done.
Perfect. Yep. Yeah, that was good. I loved how you threw in the simplest form at the end there. That was great. So there's a comment in the chat about negative half being wrong. It's not wrong. It's an equivalent fraction. And so we're all good on that. I feel like, guys, you've done so well today. I want to squeeze in one more. Will you humor me with one more question? I feel like, you know, we're climbing up the mountain and then I'm going to make you go down before you get to the top, which, you know, no, everyone wants to get to the top of the mountain. So give F a go and then we will call it a night. And you'll go off, well, you'll go off and do your quiz to kind of check your understanding of this. But let's try and do this. And it's a little bit trickier, but not too bad. Guys, to celebrate your outstanding performance today, I'm going to eat a biscuit. I've been so impressed. Well done. I know, I would share. It's just I'll send you a virtual one. Yeah, Kathy, go ahead.
Sir,
Yes.
I think we're gonna say 9 to the power of 4x plus 1 multiplied by 1 over 3 to the power of minus 2. I mean 3 to the power of 2. Then we put brackets again. Then we say to the power of x equals to 3 to the power of 3.
Okay, I want to grab something. So the most important thing you've said is that you're using the power of 3. So in this question, there's a couple of different parts. But really what I've heard is that you have got powers of 3 going on in the different places.
Yeah,
I think that's really important to just make that clear. Okay, so the main reason is what we've recognized at the beginning of this question is even though the bases are 9, 9 is not a prime number. And what I want to do is break my numbers down into a base 3. This is the key insight for this question. So once you realize that, how do you actually do it? Well, 9 is 3 squared. This is 1 over 3 squared. Okay, I'll take some questions. CPSC Claire.
Okay, it's okay, sir. I wanted to ask if I was correct that 1 over 9 is equivalent to 1 over 3 to the power of 2.
Perfect. Exactly that. Because if you think about it, 1 over 3 times 1 over 3 is 1 over 9, but you still have to do a little bit of work here. Yeah. This is good. I know what's going to happen in this question. Some of you are going to get caught. Mr. Lucky, I think you might see this coming too. I think there's going to be a problem over here.
I can already see it coming. Definitely.
Can you see that problem coming? Yeah, it's fine. It's good. Okay. So why are me and Mr. Lucky having a bit of a laugh is because we know that the 2 and the 4x plus 1, they need to be multiplied. So think about what that means. You'd be multiplying 2 by 4x plus 1. So the important thing is that when you multiply the 2 by 4x plus 1, you get 8x plus 2. A lot of you are going to get 8x plus 1. So you get 8x plus 2. And then for this one over here, I still need to do a little bit more homework. And then over here, I'm going to leave it like that. So ask yourself, why is 2 times 4x plus 1 8x plus 2? Okay, and the reason is you are timesing 2 by the whole of 4x plus 1. There's like an imaginary bracket around the 4x plus 1. And then once you've avoided that one, you still need to make sure that you apply that to get that one. And then see if you can bring it home from there. Yeah, Lee, there was a Lee, I think, question.
Yes, Lee.
Kathleen?
So,
yeah. Okay. I think the question is about the 8x plus 2. And so all I want to say about the 8x plus 2, because we can come back to this, is that 9 is definitely 3 squared. And then I'm multiplying it by 4x plus 1. Now, what the law of exponents says is that really the whole of 2 gets multiplied by the whole of 4x plus 1. So it's not just, it's almost like the 4x plus 1 is in a bracket. And if it's in a bracket, you don't just multiply the 2 by the 4x, you also multiply it by the 2. And so that's how I get that part. Okay, so let's try and wrap this up now. So we're going to get 3, and we're going to get 8x minus 2x plus 2 equals that. And then we're going to get 3 to the 6x plus 2 is that. And now we're going to drop the bases because there's one base on each side. I'll zoom in a bit. 6x plus 2 equals 3. Okay, now we just need to do some algebra. Take away 2 from both sides. And then divide both sides by 6. And we get 1 over 6. That was quite a question. Wow. So, guys, I just want to get a feel for how we're all feeling. Can you give a thumbs up if you're feeling okay and you're like, no, I followed most of this? Thumbs down if you're feeling horribly confused and etc. Yeah, let's go to hands. Instead of shouting out, let's go to hands.
Remember, ask with your hand.
And then, Mr. Lucky, if you could allocate for the hands once you see the hands.
Okay, I don't see the hands yet.
Okay.
If you want to raise your hand, you go to reactions at the bottom of your screen and raise up your hand. Okay, Emmanuel.
Go ahead. Emmanuel, go ahead.
Sorry, sir, my mic was on mute.
No problem.
So could I please get the name of the YouTube channel so I can rewatch this?
So, well, it's on YouTube under Watobe and look for grade 10. Otherwise, the Watobe website will also have all the videos that we've done. Everything is recorded. So whenever you miss something, if you're away or there's load shedding, you can always look at the recording. Yeah.
Thank you, sir.
And especially remember, guys, this is the end of a series, I think, of lessons. So if this is your first lesson, it makes sense that you might be a bit unsure because you're joining at the end of a series of 4 or 5 lessons. It would be the same in a normal class as well. So don't feel too stressed about it if you're only joining towards the back end of this. How many marks would this be worth?
Sir,
Okay,
can
let's go with the
can
hands,
I ask
please.
a question, sir? In this equation, I got x is equals to 5/6.
Yes.
So
that, yeah.
I don't know if it's right or wrong.
It is wrong. It is wrong, definitely. There's obviously been a little mistake along the way. What I'm going to do is, Mr. Lucky, can you put the link for the quiz? So on Thursdays, we do a little quiz. And so I want to put that link in the chat. For those who are ready to go and do the quiz, guys, it's been really great hanging out with you today. I'm sure I'll pop in again at some time. And then I just want to I'll take questions from students who have questions now as well. But yeah, it was great hanging out with you today. And Ms. G will be back, I'm sure, shortly. But I was kind of the super sub for the day. Okay, other questions? Who wanted to ask questions? Pleasure, Kamba, pleasure.
Okay, so I wanted to ask, so
Yeah.
can you please explain from the first step?
Okay, you talking about in question F?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the most important thing in question F is to decide on your, sorry, bit of a jump there. The most important thing is to decide on the base. So when you look at this question, the first thing that we decided at the beginning was base 3 was going to be important. And so I wrote almost the stuff that I knew was going to stay the same first. And I kind of thought, how can I change this to have 3s in the bases? Now the 27 is easy because it's just 3 to the power of 3. 1/9 can be written as 1/3 squared. And then, okay, 9 is going to be written as 3 squared. So for me, that is step 1. Now you have to figure out how to make the powers and the things inside the bracket interact. And so that's where we went next. Does that make sense?
Yes, sir.
Cool. And so that's, we went from there. Okay, other questions?
No, thank you, sir.
Pleasure. Yeah, that's great, Lucky. We can stop the recording for sure.
Yeah.
Any other questions? Yeah.